Hello there. Two of them. This was not my plan. If you saw my last video, I was very happy to pick up this Hydro Thunder here, and well, I had to reassemble it after disassembling it to hand carry it into my upstairs office. And at the very end of that video, I revealed this Hydro Thunder also exists. Now, I bought these at the same time from the same seller because they were listed together, and well, I probably could have tried to negotiate with them like, hey, I only need one. There were two. And you know what's better than one? Two. Now, if you've never played Hydro Thunder, let me make this make sense. These are a phenomenal multiplayer game with networking across the cabinets. So the opportunity to have two of them opens up the ability to play multiplayer on original hardware, which is just incredible. But additionally, as I've been looking into these things, I've actually discovered these two have lived their entire lives together and are nearly a matched pair. Their serial numbers are only 10 apart. So it really just makes sense to let them stay together. So I'm really happy that I picked them both up. Now, the focus of today's video is gonna be on three things. We're gonna put this one together because it also had to be disassembled to be hand carried into my upstairs office. It's been a lot of work to get these going. But we're also gonna take a look at what is wrong with it as part of that process. But then we're gonna network these so we can see what the multiplayer is like, which is really cool. And then as the final cherry on top for this whole project, we're gonna add video out to this one so that I can capture it for streaming, because I really like Hydro Thunder and I want all the excuses in the world to play it. So by the time I'm done with this, I plan on streaming this sucker on Twitch, so I want video capture. One last thing before we get into this. This is, for me, the third time I'm recording the second half of this video because of scope creep and technical problems, but we are also going to be covering archiving because I have the 25-inch sit-down manual as well as some other resources. I was going to do this in the first video, but I kept pushing it off because I knew I was going to get this. So we're going to get that wrapped up today and publish everything that I have on archive.org, which it's actually already out. You can go check it now before I get to it in the video. But also, version 1.00D was discovered and archived as I was finishing up this video, so we're going to check that out on here today. So yeah, there's a lot to do, and the pace is going to pick up real quick in this video in the second half. So yeah, if you watched the last video I did on Hydro Thunder, you may have noticed that there are a bunch of pieces of tape that had B written on them. That's because that was Unit B. This is Unit A. I have two Hydro Thunders, and I kind of had to. They were being sold as a pair, so just, oh shucks, darn, I had to buy two of them. As I mentioned at the end of the last video, these are a matched pair, actually. They've lived the exact same lives, they've been at the exact same places, which means that this unit was at Golfland, where Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was filmed, but after they filmed it, it was converted from a hyperdrive. It is still weird in how it has been configured inside because of that. The computer mounts on that rail, and it has a coin mech that has been converted to tokens, and it also had dozens of tokens in it. So I actually have a tremendously ridiculous amount of Golfland tokens, which is kind of fun. But today we're gonna go ahead and put this one together and check it out, but probably a lot quicker. We don't have to go over everything again because we did that in the last video. So if you want to see a full detailed walkthrough of Hydro Thunder, I highly recommend you check out the video on that one. But there are some things that we're gonna go through today on this one because it has lived a harder life. Apparently it has been repaired a lot more. Its dashboard was also damaged, but it has been replaced with the black aftermarket one. The CRT's main board has also been recapped, and I think they used bad caps for it, so it's actually ridiculously poorly focused now, and it can't be adjusted, at least not from the two pots on the flyback transformer, so I might need to cap map that one in order to service that one. Although I didn't mention this in the previous video, I actually have the service manuals for the CRT board, so maybe we can use that as well. But yeah, there are some things to go over. Oh yeah, and the marquee doesn't light up sometimes. I think the starter's bad, which I might want to LED convert both of them eventually, just so that the artwork doesn't get roasted from the heat of the CFL in there. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, so like last time, I'm gonna start out here by installing the coin mech. Now, unfortunately, the wear and tear on this one continues, as this board that holds on all of the other boards is actually loose and coming down a little bit. And I just noticed now that the dashboard mount's also a little loose there. That one seems pretty good, but we'll go ahead and tighten that up. There we go, now that's tight. All right, let's get this thing in. All right, there's that. And I can put token bucket in there. Run a token through. Excellent. Now onto the computer, which I'm gonna have to undo more cable management, but I have a minor confession here. The last video I showed the revision 1.00D. It's actually this one that has that sticker on it. And this one is properly labeled as a Quicksilver 2 instead of a Quicksilver like that one. I'm pretty sure both of them are technically Quicksilver 2s, even though the sticker on the other one does not match because I think it has to be a Quicksilver 2 to be able to run the game. So yeah, but this is the same very weird, not the same as any other Hydro Thunder mount that I've ever seen before that goes onto these brackets that are on the sides of the case instead of a board that goes upright. This kind of makes more sense to me. It makes it way easier to like maintain, but I don't know. But it's also the same as the other one. You can see the Voodoo 2 right there. The Celeron is down in there. It's exactly the same. So there's really not a lot more to check out here. If you want to see more about the computer and haven't seen the other video, I recommend you watch it because these two videos are a pair, much like these two cabinets are. All right, not much to wait around for, so we can just drop the chassis in. All right, all done. Now the innards are the exact same in this machine. We have all the cables that go up to the control panel, the Diego board, and the power distribution board. I'm guessing this goes to stuff like the motor for the force feedback, because that's not going to be able to get the power from the power supply, which is where everything else, its logic, gets its power from. But yeah, that's it. I will go ahead and get all of the CRT stuff here. But while I'm here, I would like to point out that this has a note on this component that says capped 2014, which I don't particularly like because of how this display looks. All right, getting close now. I'm going to clean up the monitor here so that I can seal it away with the bezel and front glass. And like the other one, because these are converted from hyperdrive, as far as I know, it does not have the controller descriptions around the edges like it should. That's done. It's time for the dashboard. So, like I mentioned, this one has the black aftermarket dash, and I'm quite sure that it's aftermarket because I've seen this for sale as a third-party component. So, yeah, it's not original, but it might have been better than the one that it would have come with, because, yeah, these do seem to get pretty beat up. All right, there we are. Yeah, it really doesn't look right with it being black. I think I've seen one of these in like a blue that matches the T-molding. It's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to match the seat or the side art of the base. But yeah, not the T-molding. All right, that's all the connectors. There's just the ground strap left. So I think I can go ahead and tighten the bolts down once I get the ground strap done. Which means that the only thing that's really left is the seat. So let me go grab everything for that. And there we are. It is all assembled. And now we're caught back up to where I am reshooting everything for the third time here. This is going to be a long day, like it was when I put these together, because I actually put these both together on the same day so that I could film that outro where I revealed the second one. Today's going to be a long day because I got to shoot and then edit the whole video in one day so that I can hopefully get it released by Saturday. But that is this machine together, and it's already plugged in and everything, so let's fire it up and check it out. Now, as this boots up, I will mention the first problem that this unit has, and it has to do with the marquee here. You'll see it's not lit. It may light during this. The starter for the fluorescent light in here is actually bad, and I think it just tried to fire there. It's actually drawing so much current when it flickers like that, that it'll brown out other stuff in here. So eventually it'll, manage to, almost got it there. It'll manage to get lit eventually. But that's got to be fixed. So I'm going to be learning how to open both of these because that one has bad electronics and that one just, it's not pretty. I'm probably going to replace the bulbs with maybe some LED bulbs that'll go in there that won't need the starter. That might fix it. But yeah, going to explore that. Okay, I'm going to start out here by holding up a document so you can see that the focus is correct here, and this one is related to the issue that I'm going to show here. This is as good as the focus gets on this display. I am not super familiar with working on CRTs directly, and definitely not ones that are in this era, but I'm hoping that recapping the analog board for this one will allow me to fix this. The focus knob is cranked all the way to one side, and this is as good as it gets with that adjustment. So yeah, I've also tried turning down the gain on stuff, so it's now slightly green tinted. That's my doing, but don't worry about that. I could fix that if I fiddled with it enough back there. But yeah, the focus is bad, and this is the one that was recapped in 2014, so I'm thinking that the caps that they used on that were not that good, so I'm going to have to use the other machine to figure out a cap map for this. That document that I was holding up there is actually the schematic for the analog board here for the CRT. I got this with the machine. This doesn't have a list of the capacitors. It has a list of every other part except for the capacitors. So yeah, it's a good thing that the other one wasn't recapped because I can use that as a reference to figure out what the capacitor should be in this. And this is exactly why I made CapsWiki, because now that these have been recapped, the values that are printed on them are likely to be slightly different. So I won't know exactly what I should get. So I will be doing that at some point, but for now we're just going to continue with it like this. Now, the only other issues that I've been able to find are pretty minor. The wheel here is a little loose when this one isn't, and the throttle here is also a little loose when that one isn't. And I bet it's just because the dashboard's been replaced on this one, and whoever put it back together probably didn't torque down the parts as hard as they were when it was originally put together. So I'm betting if I just take it apart and tweak everything, it'll probably be fine. And that's just kind of been the story with these. There's been a lot of loose fasteners all over both of these just due to age and moving them around and stuff. So I really am not that concerned about it. And if there are problems, Sousa Shop does have replacement components. Even if they aren't cheap, I will at least be able to get them. But the machine works, so we can now try multiplayer. So let's work on getting these things networked so that we can check that out. Now, getting these machines networked is even easier than the manual makes it out to be. If we look at one of the sections of that, it says that you need a crossover coupler or a concentrator hub. Here's the thing, these machines are just PCs. If we pop off this panel here and take a look inside, this is just a PCI network card. There's nothing that fancy about it. You connect the two computers with a Cat5 Ethernet cable. They even provided one with the cabinets, so there's really nothing special going on here. And what do you connect those cables to? Just a network switch. This is a generic Linksys unmanaged network switch, and we're just gonna plug the two computers directly into that. The former owner of this cabinet actually made a weird hacky power cable thing in here to power this, so we're just gonna go ahead and leave that for now. Maybe I'll come up with a different solution later, but it works. So all I'm gonna do is just plug the cable into the card right there, and then plug the other end into the network switch. And then on this end, I've already got the cable plugged into the computer, so I can just pull that on over, plug it in right there. And then I'm gonna put the cables down here. And then on the other side of the cabinet here, there's actually a notch cut so that you can put the back panel on and still have cables come out. So that's pretty handy. All right, they're all wired up and put together here, and isn't that just a sight to behold? Those two machines right next to each other, just like they were intended. Oh my gosh, that is a great, great sight. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a second person to help me demonstrate multiplayer here on such short notice, especially now that I'm recording this for the third time. So I'm gonna do my best here to go over everything, but we are going to be able to check out some cool stuff. So let's get these fired up and take a look. All right, now that machine booted up a little quicker, but we can see here they established the network link as they power on for the first time. But then the really cool thing here is that once they both know that they're on and connected to each other, they will sync every single aspect of the game. So when it starts showing the attract screen here, boom, they are locked in step, showing the exact same thing at the same time. How cool is that? Well, now that they're set up, let's go ahead and run through the entire multiplayer experience here. These are both set to free play, so all I'm gonna have to do is just press boost on here, and then we can see once one starts, it prompts the other player to join, so we'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna pick a nice easy level here. Let's go with, I really do like Lost Island. You can see that once one player picks the track, it picks it for both, and it does sync that across. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Misbehave over here. And then on this player, I've actually configured the machines with different timeouts for these things, and it's weird that it allows it to be different for each machine, but you can totally do that. Over here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it Midway. There we are. That one was waiting, so now they're back to synced. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna stop on this machine and let the other boat get ahead. And there is the other boat. Now, you'll see I'm actually in second, but they're number 2. And I think that has to do with the marquee that would go over both units. If we look at the marquee on the flyer, you'll see it actually states one machine is player 1 and one machine is player 2. If I pass in front of the other boat there, you'll see I'm 1, which means this machine is marked as unit 1 and that machine is marked as unit 2, which is how they're configured. Now, players who are racing against each other are given a separate position indicator. You can see that it is 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. You are still overall racing against the AI, but it tracks it independently so that just racing with your friends is by itself a fun experience. Now, as I end it here on this machine, you'll see it will time out this one, and it doesn't really give a particular timer. It just did not finish. Yeah, so little odd, but you can also see the overall rank there at the bottom. That one was 16. This one I think was 6. So yeah, this is such a good experience. I'm so glad I actually managed to get 2 of these so that I have this option in the future. It's just a true dream come true. So there is the multiplayer experience. It is absolutely phenomenal. I have had the opportunity to play a couple of multiplayer races since I picked these up, and it is really good. So happy I managed to get these. Oh, it's just an incredible experience. On the last video, I was getting a bunch of questions about the machines, and I ended up pinning a comment on it to try and get people to ask any questions that they had directly so that I could answer them in this video. Well, there ended up being enough with long enough answers that it was an 11-minute segment that I decided to cut for time here, but I'm putting it up on my second channel if you want to know more. But here I'm continuing to try and answer some questions by moving on to the next segment about video capture. There were a bunch about how the computer itself actually works that I do want to go ahead and try and give you as much information about as I can, but before we do that, I think it would actually be really helpful to do the VGA capture on this, and I'm going to show you quickly how I'm doing that. I still need to do a full-fledged VGA capture video, and a lot of what I'm doing to make this work will be included in that, but I'll just give you a very brief rundown of how I'm doing that because I have got VGA capture set up for this, and it is great. Okay, I swapped the positions in the machines, which I've been meaning to do for a while, because I wanted this one closer to the table where I have my VGA capture set up. And we are back here with the phone, so I can go over everything I'm doing. So first off, there are 2 things that we want to look at for video capture. One of them is this, which is the audio cable, and the other one is this, which is the VGA cable. So we need to split these to go to a capture system. Now, audio's pretty easy because we can just take an audio splitter and put it up here, except for the fact that I have to turn the volume level down so low on this so that it's not obscenely loud in here, that it actually is basically impossible to pick up in video capture because it adjusts the computer sound card volume when you change the system volume. So what I'm doing for that is I bought some of these. This is an inline volume wheel here, and I'm gonna plug this in to the splitter before it goes into the actual speakers, and then I can turn the volume level up on the computer, but then have it be reduced with the wheel here before it goes to the amplifier boards. So that allows me to have full level coming out of here, and then I have a cable here that goes to the line input on my computer, and that's how I'm getting audio. The next thing is an active VGA splitter. You need one that's powered or else you're gonna cut the voltage level output from the video card in half and both displays will be dim. So I have also put a power supply in here for this. And then what I will do is I will plug the video cable that goes to the Diego board into this. Go ahead and get that screwed in, and then I'm tucking that down into the machine. And then I have the input cable for this go into the Voodoo 2. And then I have a longer cable that goes over to my capture PC. And that is all I need to do to the machine itself to get video out. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like now. Okay, welcome to the VGA capture nightmare. So that machine is running, and the VGA splitter goes over to the Extron that I mentioned in my video about doing VGA over network cabling in the office and how that's all wired up. The Extron is a video matrix that allows me to split the video, so that's why it's going into that monitor, as well as a capture card in here that is a DataPath Vision RGB E1S. Okay, now, first you should note that monitor is missing the bottom part of the video here where it's saying press boost to start or free play, because it can't sync correctly to this video signal. It's trying, but it can't because it's a weird video signal. If I bring up the menu on this, it says it's running at 640 by 350 at 57 Hertz, which is of course an absurd resolution that it is definitely not running at. Now, when I first start my video capture software, it also improperly detects the resolution. It thinks it's 720 by 400. It's trying to round it to the nearest standard VGA mode, which this doesn't operate in, so that's not too surprising, but it's trying its best and it's clearly getting more signal. Now, the software I'm using here is called VCS. It is an open source interface for the DataPath card, and it works very well. And with it, I have been able to tune my own video preset for Hydro Thunder. But the thing is that I had to figure out what the resolution that the game was actually running at, and I wasn't able to sync it at 512 by 384, so I don't necessarily think that's the correct resolution. What I ended up doing is picking the resolution 508 by 399 and having that work very well. That, with some custom tuning with this profile that I'll go ahead and put in like a GitHub gist or something, allows me to get razor sharp capture of the image for Hydro Thunder. So that is how I'm doing VGA capture, and I will actually be streaming this game, well, for me today, Friday. I did it last week too on Twitch because I really like this game and I just want to play it. So, you know, streaming video games on Twitch, what a crazy idea. Now, to record this, what I'm doing is I'm window capturing in VCS because while you can actually do video capture of the DataPath card directly here, it ends up using the default resolution properties and just it doesn't work quite right. So I have to do window capture, which has issues with doing it through the desktop environment, 60 Hertz refresh rate, where you're gonna get frame sync issues. It's like, it's a whole thing. And this is part of why VGA capture is such a nightmare, but we won't go into that. So if you're streaming, that's pretty much it. You window capture, you're done. It works great. The final thing I'll mention here is a trick that is another one of those things that I learned for video capture. Set your recording resolution to double your canvas resolution and set your filter to area, which will nearest neighbor scale your video before you start recording. And that will bring the video over the chroma subsampling rate, which means that your actual pixel data is going to fit within chroma subsampling, and you can use a lower quality recording setting, but still retain all of the video data to get both compression and high quality video. That is a real good trick, and I'll go over that eventually in the VGA capture video. That is, yeah, eventually. Anyway, right now, let me do some capture here so that you can see this. And real quick, if I go ahead and start recording here and hit the button.
Hydro Thunder!
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Let's go ahead and start.
Lake Powell, choose your boat. Tidal Blade. Light the board, go! Oxygen speed, go! Three, two, one, go! Superstar, boosters getting low. Time extended. Looks like we've got company. Booster deployed. Finish line, dead ahead. Finish. You placed third.
Well, all right, there is VGA capture, and I really like this game. I got suckered into doing 3 races there instead of the 1 I just meant to, but it's too much fun. Anyway, now that we have VGA capture sorted here, we can check out the computeriness of the hardware by sticking a 2D card in the machine and capturing the output from that. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now, to actually explore the computer back here, I'm going to be putting in this, which is a Diamond Stealth 64 DRAM. So this is just, I'm pretty sure, a 2D card. I've actually put a Matrox G200 in here. And while it would work for video out, it would prevent the game from booting because it has 3D that interfered with communicating with the Voodoo. So I need the most simple possible 2D card I can put in there, and that seems to be the best one I have that isn't in a computer already and doesn't have bad video memory, hopefully. I haven't actually tested it yet. Now I'd like to point out that the motherboard here is an Intel SE440BX2, and that's just a standard computer motherboard. Nothing fancy about that. With those brackets out of the way, it's really just a regular computer. So I'm gonna put the 2D card down here just above the network card. So just take out the PCI bracket, take the card, pop it in there, and there we go. I'll just screw it back down. Now for video here, I am gonna run this a little differently. I don't want to run the post video into the Diego board because I'm not sure that it can handle other resolutions. I figure there's a reason this doesn't have pass-through. So we're just gonna feed this directly into the capture hardware for now, and then I can also connect a monitor to that, which I'll go grab, and then I'm gonna plug a keyboard into the PS2 port there as well. All right, so here is a standard VGA LCD monitor that I will plug the video into, and then a Model M, because why not? I can use a Model M on a Hydro Thunder. All right, everything is connected, so flipping the switch on the cabinet here, and Intel motherboard. How weird and cool is that? Let's go ahead and get into the BIOS. All right, here we go. The BIOS of Hydro Thunder, which I'm pretty sure isn't custom. You can look at the BIOS version there. I'll note here somewhere if it is a weird proprietary version. I'm gonna guess not though. But we can see it's a 333 megahertz Intel Celeron. That is on a slot 1 card we saw last time. This has 64 megabytes of memory spread over 2 sticks. And I have had to replace the BIOS CR2032 battery on this board to keep the settings, mostly for something we're gonna get to later. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The security stuff is a joke. They haven't even set a password for the machine, so you don't need to do anything like that. The IDE configuration can be helpful to look at, so we can see the Quantum Fireball here, and those are the settings that that drive is using, and we can actually manually change those as well if we want. But yeah, there's not too much to see here, I have tried a couple of times to change this to that setting, and for some reason it doesn't stick. I don't know why. But when I first put the CR2032 battery in there, the machine would revert to last state, which was off. So I would flip the power switch on the machine, the computer would briefly turn on because it got power, then realize that it should be off, and then turn off. So I actually had to start the computer with no CR2032, get into the BIOS, put the CR2032 in there, so it's always power on after power loss, because the power switch on this thing doesn't send an ATX power signal or anything. It literally just cuts power to the whole computer, which feels horrifying for the hard drive, for having it like something running and potentially writing to it. It's really weird. Anyway, but yeah, there really isn't a lot to see because it's just a standard motherboard. So we'll go ahead and save and exit. And while that's running, I'm gonna widen out the shot here because I want you to be able to see the arcade cabinet turn on at the same time. So we can see the game print something out over text mode 2D, and then it will actually hand over to hydro.exe on the hard drive, and it will eventually launch over here. Yes, there we go. So what would actually happen with that Matrix card is it would try and initialize the Voodoo and it wouldn't work. So yeah, this is apparently my best option for a 2D card to leave in here. But it never does anything on the VGA console again. I'll just go ahead and run the game really quick to double check. But yeah, I don't believe that it ever prints anything over there again. I'll do a whole race just to be sure, though. All right, yep, yeah, nothing printed out when finishing a race, and here, it would have been writing to the hard drive if it was gonna do that. So yeah, nothing ever gets updated on there. Okay, so there is much more information about how the computer itself works for this game, but that's not it for the information that I've been trying to get and share and preserve about this. So since I got this machine, it's been kind of driving me nuts what wasn't out there for it. Now, I think the only document I could find when I was initially searching for this was the manual for the upright cabinet, which was the original PDF that must have got leaked somehow. And that was it for documentation. So I kind of made it an objective of mine to try and archive as much as possible about this machine. So I can now tell you that I have archived the original update discs as they were mailed, which includes the manual for what information was provided to the operators to actually update the games. So that's a big one for me. I have made higher resolution scans of the two arcade flyers that existed for the game, one for the originals and the uprights. So those are now available in 600 DPI scans. And I've also gone through and archived that CRT manual. And I did find out after I did this one that there was already one, but I think mine ends up being a little clearer, so it still is useful. And then, for me, one of the bigger ones, the 25-inch sit-in manual here. So this is the manual that would have been shipped with my cabinets had they not been weird, I guess. So this is what would be representative to probably most Hydro Thunders, because I think most of them were the sit-downs, especially the 25-inch one. So really happy to have this. It is now scanned. I ran it through the Caesar scanner here, and I now have a PDF of the manual that I've uploaded to archive.org with all the rest of these materials that I will put links to in the description down below. So if you want any of this reference material, you're ready to go. Now, I will say that the manual scan for this is not optimal. I've been very rushed for time. I didn't have all the opportunities. I would have liked to properly format that, but I got it done quick so that I could get it out there and actually preserved in some way. I will probably go back and scan it again to get a nicer one, but I just wanted to get it out there for now. Now, as I mentioned, I also archived the hard drive contents, and I did that by just using a PCIe IDE cable, then going into the computer that I'm using here. So I was able to dump the contents of both machines' hard drives. I've separated everything out on my end for serial numbers 33 and 43, because that's how close those machines are to each other. And I've uploaded one of those hard drive images to archive.org. Now, something to note here. After poking around with the hard drive image data, I found out something interesting, and only a full drive image is a complete picture of everything of the Hydro Arcade's contents, because the game doesn't store high score, configuration, and audit data normally as files. The machine actually puts all this data at the very end of the data portion of the drive as just raw data. It doesn't save it as a file, and it reads and writes it directly rather than going through some kind of DOS layer for file access. It's kind of weird, but it's all almost at the very end of the drive. So you have to do a full drive image up to the very end, and then it's there. Now, I've actually been messing around with this data as well, and I've written a tool that can extract high scores into a CSV, and I'm trying to get it so that you can import high scores as well, but every time I've tried it so far, it doesn't work, and I'm thinking there is some kind of data validity check, because I have successfully read and written from the binary image portion of the drive, and it should be possible. It's just, I think it's doing a checksum or something somewhere that I'm failing to find so far. So more experimentation with that is needed, but I'll link the code for that down below. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the game really doesn't have any security stuff, so it is extremely easy to get an adapter like this and a compact flash card and just rewrite the hard disk image to the compact flash card and put it on the machine. The only thing that you need to pay attention to that I've found so far is that in the BIOS settings, you have to go down to the hard drive and change it to LBA mode if it detects it not as that. If it's not in LBA mode, the Hydro executable doesn't launch correctly and you get this error. Now, I want to go ahead and demonstrate writing a card and putting it back in the machine and booting this, but we're in a very privileged position now because yesterday, thankfully before I started recording this third attempt at this, a disk image of Hydro Thunder 1.00D was made. So a huge shout out to Axel Thunder, JBF Crasher, Jason Scott, and Teofana, who all work together to make this happen. JBF Crasher found a machine that was just a computer that still had 1.00D on it. Axel Thunder bought it and contacted Jason Scott to get someone local to pick it up and get it imaged, and it's just incredible that that has been done. So huge shout out to them. I've been hanging out in their Discord server, trying to go through and sharing all of the materials I've been working on. So yeah, they've done a great thing there. So we are gonna go ahead and write that to a compact flash card, and we're gonna try and boot the original version of Hydro Thunder, which incidentally is what this manual is for, and I've already noticed some minor differences in the menus, so I'm really curious to check out the full game. All right, it's in there, and in case there's anything wildly different, I'm capturing the 2D card so we can see the BIOS and VGA console stuff. So let's fire it up and check out 1.00D, which is what these would have actually shipped with for my units. All right, I don't see anything different there. It looks like it probably will have just been the executable that was changed, which tracks with the files that I've looked at. It seems like most of the file dates are the same between the two drive images. There we go though, 1.00D. Oh, that's sweet. Now this image doesn't have that hidden data partition on the end, which makes me wonder if maybe the game was never properly run. That would be weird. Or maybe they just didn't get it, I don't know. But I'm gonna go ahead and feed it some tokens because it's not set to free play or anything. All right, here we go. All right, well, so far it seems pretty much the same. So I don't know what all may have changed on here. But yeah, it is really cool to be able to check this out though. All right, that should have written to the drive. Yeah, it took a lot longer than normal, so I suspect I had to write the full data set. So what I'm gonna do here now is we're actually gonna go into the menu. And in here, I just wanna see one setting in particular. Yep, that is it. Okay, interesting. So on 1.0B, there is a wait for operator option in the network menu. I have an idea of what it might be. I think there might be a way of externally triggering the start of a race. So what I'm guessing is this allows everyone to pick their boats and get set up and then have an announcer count in when the actual race is going to start and then press a single button to actually start loading the track and run the countdown. That's my best guess. That would be great for tournaments or something like that, where you don't have to rely on all the individual people picking their boats or something to do that. But I don't know how that's done. And the 1.01b manual I have doesn't actually describe anything like that. So I'm not sure, but that is really interesting. I knew to look for this because the manual for the cabinet itself has a screenshot of this menu that was missing that. That's why I was wondering about that. So it definitely tells me this is the older version of the game that likely is what shipped with these units. So that is really cool to see. Now I was gonna say there's no point trying to network these because they won't work with the version mismatch, but I just realized, you know, let's see that. I bet no one's seen that in forever. So we should do that just to see what it looks like. So yeah, I just enabled networking on this one. I've turned on the other machine. So let's see what it complains about for a version mismatch when you try and fire two of these up in networking with different versions of the game. Yes! Oh my gosh! Dude, that's so cool! So code version mismatch, data version mismatch. That totally tracks with what I've seen in the hard drive contents. There are two partitions. One contains like code executable data and the other one contains track and model data. And I'm guessing the secondary partition is marked as version 1.00D on both machines, and the first partition with the code data is different between the two. That is so cool to see. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, this has been a lot of fun. Well, all right, 2 Hydro Thunders. Oh my gosh, this has been just one of the most fun projects. I'm enthralled with having been able to pick up these two, and even more so with the progress that's been made in preserving these machines over the last several weeks. I mean, I was able to get a lot of the documentation and some of the software archived, and then we found 1.00D. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. It's just been one of the best experiences I've had with picking something up. I'm so happy with how this went. In the future, I will come back to these and detail repairing the dashboard on this one, because I have a plan for that that I think should work well and that I can release for anyone else to be able to repair theirs with. So stay tuned for that. But we're also going to do some other repairs like the marquee on that one, and I will probably just convert those to LED. I know I said I wanted to keep it original, but this is one instance where having the fluorescent light in there roasts the marquee and it's slowly destroying itself. So basically I kind of have to for preservation efforts. But yeah, a couple of other things here and there. Recap the CRTs. That's going to be fun. But yeah, so we'll have that video in the future. I'm probably going to stream most of that first and then condense it all down into one video. And I don't want to do piecemeal videos on here. As much as you guys have enjoyed the Hydro Thunder stuff, it will get old after a while. So we'll do one final video on repairs and such when I get that done. For now though, check out Twitch, which is where it will happen live. But that is it for now. So I hope you guys have enjoyed these videos on these Hydro Thunders. If you want to see that update on the repairs in the future, you may want to subscribe. If you want to help support the channel, I am on Patreon. But for now, that's it, and I will see you next time. And I'm gonna play Hydro Thunder now. So, I mean, yeah, I know what I'll be doing.